Robbie, thanks very much for joining us today. One of the biggest battles that you face in your time as Wallaby coach has been that of quality playing depth. Are you more comfortable with the options at your disposal this year?
Well, you're never totally comfortable, but it's clear that we are building more depth. I mean, June was evidence of that. We lost something like 4 or 5 top shelf 5/8s, and yet we were still able to get through the series. Whereas, you go back a couple of years, that simply wouldn't have been the case. We couldn't have done that. So you look at some of our positions of need. We've lacked a bit of depth at open side. We've now got a couple of open siders coming on. We're not without challenge. 9, we don't have a huge amount of depth. Locking stocks probably aren't that flush. But aside from that, I think we're making headway.
You mentioned in the post-match after the Wales series concluded at the footy stadium that Wales in many ways provided possibly your best preparation for the Rugby Championship. Does that sort of say more for Wales' style of play, or does it sort of speak more for Ireland and England's relative inconsistency?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's the quality of the Welsh side. First and foremost, they're Grand Slam winners, went through the Six Nations unbeaten. And they're a side that was probably as close as any to the Southern Hemisphere. They play 80 minutes, they use width, they've got capability across the park, but they also pretty strong at set piece. So it was the ideal background for us, we believe, going into playing against what are traditionally the best 2 sides in the world.
How's the confidence in the coaching and the playing group ahead of the Rugby Championship this year, and what sort of difficulties come with the added component of home and away matches against Argentina?
In terms of confidence in defending the title, we won't defend the title. No. You don't win the Tri-Nation, what is now the Rugby Championship. You don't win the Rugby Championship without an attacking mindset. You just don't succeed against the All Blacks and the Springboks without bringing something to the game. We did that last year, and obviously it was satisfying to pick up the Tri-Nations, something that hadn't been done for a decade, and which is indicative of the challenge. It's the toughest comp in the world. So we go back into that shortly. We believe the prep we had against the Welsh was ideal. We play the All Blacks back to back, and that's going to be an important front end.
Yeah. Is this year the best chance of ending the Wallabies drought with 3 games and Brisbane becoming a bit of a fortress to finish at?
From a rugby perspective, an Australian rugby perspective, it's not a great stat to have never won the Bledisloe in the last 10 years. There's a lot of meaning in this trophy. It's next to the World Cup. It's probably the most prized piece of silverware in the world. I understand intimately the meaning it has for the Kiwis. I was involved in that group when they last picked it up, and have held it since. And that was off the back of a 5-year drought. The Wallabies had held it for 5 years, so there was a lot of meaning for them, and they're in no hurry to give it up.
No, of course.
Just as we want it.
You won one as a player. You're obviously wanting to win one as a coach now. Would one rate higher than the other?
Well, I've won one as a player and one as a coach. To win another as a coach would rate higher than everything.
Berwick Barnes was excellent in June. David Pocock went to new levels as an inspirational player and captain. Are you expecting more from your senior group?
Senior group made good strides in June, and that's what we've been working hard at and waiting on in many ways. That maturity kicking in and turning experience into hunger, and not being prepared to accept anything but the best, and that's what it's going to take the next step. So that background was good for them. That will have given them a bit of belief. We've given the group a bit of belief. We will need some X factor, but we'll need a lot more of the substance that the group showed in June than X factor, because that's the ingredient that we've been deficient on. We've had ample X factor. It it doesn't cut it against the All Blacks.
The two centre positions have long been a topic of discussion and debate. Are you comfortable with the attacking options that the likes of McKay and Horn and Anthony Fainga, Mike Harris bring?
Well, I think we showed through June, people look at individuals and draw conclusions about the team, which is nonsense. It's a team game. It's how you apply all your people. There's a lot of discussion around Pat McKay last year. Well, our attack in the Tri Nations was the best it had been in 10 years. Yeah. And it was superior to the All Blacks and the Springboks, and hence we won the title. And Paddy was a big part of that. He's a young man learning the ropes as well, just as we as a team are learning to combine effectively. We made good progress in our attack. We went from something like, well, our line breaks essentially doubled in each outing. So we'll just keep pushing on with that. To have a combination is great. We haven't had a combination for a long time because of injuries. That's the first time that I can recall we've gone through a series with the same midfield pairing. So that's definitely advantageous. I mean, you talk to those blokes, that they come to understand each other, and in particular come to understand the team game. Ample attack, because they're blokes who ask of the opposition. Some of the viewing public prefer the visible X-factor stuff. It's a team game, and that doesn't cut it against teams of substance. But we'll try and blend the two. Last year we modified the way we played the game in order to bring the X-factor players into it. They may not have been involved in the starter play, but they're certainly involved in the secondary play. So it was about fitting the skill set of our playing group to what was required.
It's about striking the balance. Is it just as much a case, I guess, of having a couple of straight men, so to speak, for those X-factor blokes when you have got them all on the field at the same time?
If you recall the fixture at Eden Park, we didn't stick to the script, and we played very laterally. We kept going to the edges, and we disrespected our opponent. So that play mentality and approach doesn't cut it. So you've got to have blokes who ask of the defence. You've got to engage them, and you've got to ask enough of them to sap them in order to profit. We adapted our game. We learnt from that outing, and we were much more effective in Brisbane when we picked up the Tri Nations against an All Black side that was lying in wait. They stayed here, waited for that fixture. They knew that was the defining match. We travelled to Africa, came back and got the job done.